On another episode of the Soothing Semantics podcast. I'm your host, Rafi Pinsky. Make sure to subscribe, smash the like button, leave your comments, share the episode with your family, friend, pet puppy. And we are here today with Sal Carola. And before I mention that, make sure for all of your real estate needs in South Florida to go check out my Instagram at Rafi the Realtor. If you have my contact info, reach out to me. Make sure to tune into my newsletter, which goes out every week on Mondays at 9 a.m. to stay up to date on everything South Florida real estate. And without further ado, I welcome Sal Carola to the channel. Thank you to
How
the
you
show.
doing?
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Rafi, for having me.
My pleasure. So Sal owns several offices, REMAX offices in the tri-state area of New York. He received the 2019 award for the best Brokerage of the Year, 2019 USA REMAX Brokerage of the Year. He's a real estate coach, a real estate broker. I'm sure there are lots of interesting things I don't know yet, which we'll get to know on the show. And give us a little bit of an idea of how you started in the industry, and maybe what you were doing prior, and how you got to where you are today.
Okay, so full disclosure, I'm a retired NYPD sergeant. I did over 20 years. During the middle of my career, I think year 10 was 20 right around the attacks on the World Trade Center. Um, Worked a lot of hours, obviously, nonstop. Besides the tragedy and everything, we were making a lot of overtime, which I enjoyed, my life with extra money. When that kind of slowed down, I knew that I had to do something else. And a friend of mine said, "Why don't you become a realtor?" Which I did. I joined a mom and pop shop. Whenever I do anything, I kind of, dive into it full force. And I quickly started doing very, very well in the mom and pop shop. And my broker then actually said, you might want to join a company like REMAX because they're for more serious individuals, which I kind of appreciated him saying that because he kind of gave me up,
But
to
Sal, how quickly to interject, how old were you when you retired as a cop? Is it, you said, a sergeant?
I was a sergeant, so I was 47 years old.
So you started as a real estate agent at 47 years old.
No, no, no. I started in my middle of the career. So
Oh, I'm sorry.
year,
Okay.
year 10, year 10. So I was in my 30s. So I was in my 30s when I became a realtor.
Okay.
Like I said, I joined the mom and pop shop. And then afterwards, joined REMAX, and my career just exploded. Um, I was working real estate by day and police department by night. Um, I was getting a lot of referrals through the police department. I was getting a lot of referrals outside of the police department. So by the time my 20th year came, it was pretty obvious that I was um, well established as a realtor. I was doubling and tripling my salary as a cop. So some people stay a little longer than 20 years, but I thought about it and I said it wouldn't pay for me financially. So I did retire, and I became a full-time realtor, which it's funny when you say full-time because I was always working full-time hours. Um, then the REMAX company that I worked with shut down. They went to another franchise, but I was so branded with REMAX that two of my partners came up to me that, they reached out to me that they were in the same company, and they said, "Do you want to open up your own company with us?" And I was like, "Yeah, why not? Let's do it." So in 2017, we opened up REMAX Elite, and we quickly grew uh, to well over 100 agents, well over, and 4 offices. So I have 2 in Staten Island, 1 in Brooklyn, 1 in Queens. And we cover all 5 boroughs. And then also, I've been coached by, Brian Buffini for many, many years. He's a well-known coach in America. I think he's got the biggest coaching company in America. For about 16 or 17 years, I'm with them. So I decided to coach my realtors in my office, and that started being very successful, and they were growing as realtors. And I decided to open up a coaching company where I could coach other realtors. on how to build a referral business, strictly referrals.
Wow. Okay. Because I definitely like to hear about that. I'm making calls as my major lead generation tool.
You're
So
making
I'm
cold
definitely
calls?
right.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I don't have to explain it to you. It's a tough way to make a call.
Yeah.
It's
I've been
exhausting.
doing it. Sorry.
It's exhausting, right? It could be
Yeah. You know
exhausting.
what though? It is in a way. I just think that it's a necessary thing to do. And I'll sometimes I'll make as many as 200, 250. I've probably made 300 calls in a day.
Wow.
I recently put a newsletter together a couple of months ago. I have about 1,000 people on the list, adding people to it every day. I'm a big fan of Ricky Carruth. I'm sure you've heard of him.
Yes, I have.
I've had him on my podcast as well. So I am really trying to get that newsletter to a very sizable number. And
Yes.
this way, hopefully, over the course of time, when I have, say, 10,000 people in the email,
Yeah.
I think that that'll be able to give me that opportunity not to have to sit there and make so many calls because I don't want to be making calls forever. That's not the goal.
It's again, it's brutal. The cold calling could wear you down, and sometimes you just don't have the head for it because you're up against a lot of negativity. A lot of people just don't respond well. You have to be able
Hmm.
to move on, and you have to be a little disciplined inside.
I do that well. Now that's one thing I can tell you. I can take the rejections, the screw offs. I don't get a lot of people giving me problems in terms of getting upset at me. It doesn't happen
Good.
too often. You'll have your days, but I
Yeah,
think
of
I'm
course.
pretty comfortable on the phone. I have fun with
Good.
it, as
Good.
much as
Good.
I can. So what are some things, I do want to hear more about your coaching and how you've helped realtors, but I also would love to get some tidbits and knowledge from you as someone who's been in the game for quite a lot longer than I have. I've been in the business for maybe about 3.5 years now. So the 2023 market has been challenging for quite a lot of agents. Some agents have really flourished, especially the agents that have been in the business for a while, have a long history of past clients and referrals.
Right.
What would you say about the 2023 market for the majority of agents? And what do you think? There's so many things I can discuss with you, but in say an hour's time, I want to really try to cover some meaty subjects, the meat and potatoes. What was your experience with, say, the agents that are in your office that weren't the most experienced or didn't have 10 years under their belt? And what do you think they can do going forward in the year 2024 to make it a better year?
2023 was a brutal year for us. We were rocking and rolling until 2023. The rates just went up too fast. Kind of scared a lot of buyers away and sellers. We had a lot of experienced realtors that were working for many, many years that they were actually afraid of their business, and they didn't know where they were going. So if those type of agents that have so much experience are feeling that fear, the new agents are definitely feeling the fear. So we did lose a few agents to go back to regular life, a salary job, and then we have some agents that were lucky enough that they could ride the storm. Um, what I did was I went, I spoke to my agents all the time, and we have training a couple times a month through Zoom, and I told them this is the time to go down to the basics. You know, the funny part is a lot of these agents, that joined in the past few years, they've never seen a down market ever. They've never experienced tough times. I've been in the business for a while, so I saw a few times that ups and downs, and I always was trying to explain to them that this will never last. This is going to end, and if you are laying down the foundations now, when you have the time to, you will benefit from this because when the market turns, you'll be the one standing that everybody's going to come to you because you've laid down foundations. You've been in contact with your database. You're reaching out to them. You're staying in touch, and you're asking for referrals all the time. So that's they. What I realize is life never stops, regardless of the bad times. People get married. People get divorced. People pass away. Families get larger. Families get smaller. You always need um, a new home or you need to sell something or you need to move. So yeah, life never stops. It might slow down a little bit because of the times, but it gets back into it. And we're experiencing now in this year that we're experiencing a little bit of a bump already in January, and February starting off pretty well.
That's awesome. I love what you said, and I've heard this several times, but it's always super important for me to have this reassurance because Ricky has spoken about this many times in the last year. A lot of agents are either completely left the business, and the tough ones are still standing, either the ones who've been able to make either a lot of money or enough money to get through. And it'll create a lot more market share for the agents that are still sticking around. So what I've been personally doing, no matter what happens, how many sales I get, is I just make these calls. I get on social media, I connect with people, I do my podcasts, I keep putting my foot in front of the other every day. I'm just, I'm here, I'm relentless. I don't care what it takes,
Good
and
for you.
that's just what it is. That's what it's going to be. I know it sounds like a cliche statement, but I mean it
Yep.
100%. So I'm excited for that. And I'm here for it. I just want to make it happen no matter what.
Well, I was once told a long time ago that real estate rewards action. It always does. So if you're constantly showing up every day and putting 100% into the effort, it does pay off. It has to. It has
Right.
to. There's no secret formula to this. You just got to you got to put your head down and just keep on moving forward.
Right. I completely agree. And that I love it. I love it. I'm here for it. So what do you think? Here's just a simple question, but it's a deep one. What do you think separates the agents that can manage in a tough market? Say they just keep making their calls, they keep doing the work, and the other agents that go, nah, this business isn't for me. This market's too tough. I can't handle it.
So I think it's just a mindset. It's the way of looking at things. I think it's people get into real estate, especially years ago, because they saw the money coming in. I mean, let's face it. If you follow realtors on social media, especially Instagram, you would think we live the life of rich and famous. I mean, everybody's making money. Everybody's taking pictures in front of Porsches and Ferraris and things like that. Dressed really well, going out. You would think that it's a profession that you can make so much money, but the reality of it is, yes, you could make that money, but it takes time. It takes a lot of effort.
Hmm.
And when you build a business that is producing that type of results, it's automatic. It keeps on rolling and it keeps on moving. So I think a lot of the agents that came under the false uh, pretense that it's very easy, that you can't lose. I mean, and those are the agents that are filtered out immediately when the market changes. Then there are
They see
ones
selling
that,
sunset. They see the Oppenheims. They see selling sunset. Ryan Serhant, and they go, "Oh my God, I'm going to make so much money. I'm going to leave my
exactly,
my crappy ShopRite job,
exactly.
and
That's exactly
oh,
it.
it's going to be so great." And then when their coach or their broker goes, "Sorry, buddy, you're going to have to give up Sundays. You're going to have
Yeah,
to work Saturdays if you work Saturdays.
yeah,
You're going to have to make you're going to have to make calls. You're going to have to do a lot of boring, mundane tasks.
yeah,
You're not going to do all the glam fun things that you're seeing on TV. I
no,
mean, you can eventually, you definitely can, but for the long while, you're going to have to do the boring shit that nobody sees.
yeah. You got to build a business. It takes time to build a practice. And that's what I like to do when I coach realtors. I always emphasize build a business that you could eventually sell. Because,
Hmm.
when you retire, the worst thing is you just closed up the door and you walk into the sunset. But when you're building a business that it's producing income all the time, and through predictable revenue, you have a database, they know what you do and they know how well you do it, and they constantly float, giving you referrals. That's the type of business that you could sell to a newer, agent. Just like a doctor or a dentist or an attorney will sell their practice, their clients. That's what I try to show my realtors that work for me, that you need to build a database that is your sphere of influence, that like not even me, I can't break into your sphere. They don't know me, they don't trust me, they only know and trust you. But that takes a lot of time to build that type of relationship. It takes years, but once it's there, it's there. So, in the meantime, do all those cold calls, door knock, send out the
Hmm.
newsletters, send out the mailings, because you're going to get a few great clients from that, and they're put into your database, and then you nurture them over the years, every month,
Hmm.
birthdays, anniversaries, stop by their home with little gifts here and there, little handwritten notes, things like that. they appreciate that and they will refer you out. But in order for you to build a database, you got to do the grunt work, which you are doing very, very well. So that's, you just keep on building that database to the point that you don't need a database of, say, 1,000 people. You have 300 to 400 people that know you, that every time
Mhm.
you call them, your name pops up on their phone, you're making a fortune.
Yeah.
That's where you got to get to it. And then I never, and like I always say, keep on with if you make those lead generation calls and all the activity in the big, at the beginning of the day, and you have time at the end of the day to do your cold calling, go right ahead. Why not? Why not? Build it and just keep on flowing it. But it's got to, what you're doing right now is what I would advise every realtor to do in times like that are new. Build that database, become friends with them on social media. A lot of them just don't do that. Everybody that I come across, I become friends with them either on Facebook, I follow them on Instagram so I could
Mhm.
socialize with them. You stay in touch with them. And then when you make a phone call just to say hello, it's
That's
always great
really
to just
good
go to their feed,
advice.
see what's going on in their life.
That's such a light bulb, Sal. Because wow, thank you for that. That was awesome because I'll connect with them. What I'll do is I'll call them. I don't necessarily know them so well. James Thomas, say that's his name.
Okay.
Has a house, 500,000, isn't ready to sell right now. I just spoke to him, tried to set an appointment. He wants me to keep in touch with him. I send him an email. I also send a text as well with my info, ask him to save my contact. I'll send a preview. Say I'm calling him on Wednesday. My emails go out every Monday. So I'll say, I'm also going to send you a preview of my most recent email that I sent out 2 days ago. So
Okay.
this way you can open it, look through it. And this way, when you get the next week's email, it won't look like some random spam message. You'll have seen my last email. You'll be, familiar with it. That's what I've been doing.
That's
But
right.
I'm also going to ask them, hey, do you use social media? If they sound like someone younger or whatever the case is, I'll ask them anyway, hey, do you have Facebook or Instagram? Let's connect,
Right.
you know?
And that's the way to do it. You have to, they have to see that there's a real side of you. There's not all business.
That's
When
why I do the podcast, by the way. This is why I do the podcast.
Yeah, and I think they get to know you as a realtor. That you have your interests, you have your favorite restaurants, you have a favorite vacation spot, you have your favorite car,
Mhm.
whatever, your sports team. They see that, this guy is not all business. There are realtors that they say, listen, I'm just going to get a business page and just blast out stuff like that. And I disagree with that. I don't think we should have business pages. I think, we should have one page and it should be interacting with business. You should have a 50-50 split. Personal stuff and business. And obviously,
Mhm.
when it comes to the personal stuff, try to behave, try to avoid the hot topics, the politics, the
Mhm.
religion, whatever's going on in the world. Try to look professional because it does stay with you, and it's hard to erase
So
it.
that's one thing I do that's a little risky, but I also think that's an interesting topic, and you can give me your thoughts, even if you have some criticism for it. I can get a little controversial on my podcast, but there's just certain topics that are so important to me. And I know that I could lose some clients by doing it. Like, for example, I cover the Israeli-Palestinian conflicts. I was in the Israeli army, and it's an important topic to me. And
Yeah,
I've gone into it pretty extensively, and I still want to. And I listened to a few entrepreneurs that I'm a very big fan of. Patrick Bet David being one of them. Maybe you've heard of him. There's a
yes,
guy, Alex Hermosi. Maybe you've heard of these guys. And they essentially said, like, hey, listen, you might lose some people if they don't agree with the way you look at life. But in the long term, the people who do like what you have to say are going to be very loyal to you. And that's kind of the route I've taken. And I understand that that may not be the common one because a lot of realtors are very careful with not
very
going in
careful.
certain
Yeah,
directions.
but if you're going about it in a respectful way,
I
um,
do.
and you
I do.
try to point out, both sides and obviously evil is evil. So we don't, we could talk easily about that, but if you could say it in a way, then obviously even the people that are not siding with you kind of look at you as being, well, he's speaking
Respectful.
in a professional way. He's voicing his opinion and he's really not creating a problem with anything. Um, so if it's working for you, then go right ahead. The problem is
Mhm.
the majority of people can't be that disciplined and they get really hyped up. Look, the presidential elections, I mean, people get so hyped up with that. And we're living in a country that is basically 50-50 almost. I mean, it's just really,
Crazy. So I don't talk American. Funny enough, I don't talk American politics, especially when I meet clients. I don't walk in the door of a listing appointment and go, "So Biden, Trump, what are you thinking?" I
yeah.
never do that.
Yeah, unless
You
you
know?
see the Trump flag flying around and, then maybe you could feel comfortable saying that, but,
Right, right, right.
it's why even bother?
Don't bring it up, right?
It makes no sense. But again, yeah, you're talking about more, foreign policies, which it's a little
Right.
deeper, I guess. Yeah,
It's a
it
little
is.
different, but I don't bring things up. I think I'm pretty tactful about it. I try to read the room as much as I can.
Yeah, you
So
have
where
to.
it's not necessary, it's not necessary, and where it is, it is. Obviously, if it's someone who I can tell shares my values and they bring it up, then we can have a conversation.
Yeah, and
But
then
it all
that just
depends.
builds a
So
lot more trust with the client. Absolutely, yes.
that has helped me. That's definitely, I've seen
Yeah,
it definitely has helped me. And there are people that, whether they're investors or people I know in my circles who really like me because I have those shared
yeah,
values.
exactly.
So I think it depends, and so I did want to get your feedback on it. So I'm glad you said that. And also, what do you think with this whole NAR suit? Where they just got Gary Keller to pay the 70 million, and Ricky Carruth, and I keep mentioning because I really like him. I'm going to be quoting you, Sue. Don't worry, Sal. So in terms of the lawsuit and what's happening now, where they're saying the buyers' agents are going to have to expect the commission from the buyers. Would you agree with Ricky that all the more so now more than ever, agents should be really focusing on listings as much as they can? Would you get behind that?
That solves all the problems. If you're a listing agent, you avoid, any problem because you're just going to get paid, and probably even better now through the seller, because you probably don't have to share that. Um, we're on uncharted waters over here. I do feel bad for my buyers agents in my company. They're quickly learning how to navigate this, but it is definitely changing the whole dynamics of real estate. A lot of people, they've been saying this for years, Rafi, that every once in a while something comes up and it kills the market. It destroyed their industry. But this is just something else that came along that we have to, learn how to deal with it and move around and maneuver it. And we will. I mean, years ago, before I was a realtor, people were telling me that when the MLS was invented, it would destroy the market. Like they would destroy it, but it didn't, right? And then you
Why
have,
were they saying it would do that? What was their fear when that MLS came?
because back then, in the early days when I was a kid, I remember, like you would have, companies that just sold their own inventory. They would never have to share. But
Ah,
it's limited way of thinking, because yeah, you do get both sides of it, but you're not getting any sides of the other company. So, the MLS is also broadening your inventory, so you can make money maybe
you can also
less at a
sell
time, but more often, more transactions.
right, faster closings, right? You're
Yeah.
yeah, right,
So
right, right.
now this came along, and if you think about it, there's probably going to be opportunities with this too. It's buyers will find ways of getting paid well, compensated well. Sellers, when I say buyers agents, sellers agents, same thing. It's just we just have to figure out how to do it. I mean, it's here. If the lawsuit passed, we have to deal with it. There's nothing else to it. I
Well,
mean,
when do you think it's actually going to be implemented? Because I know in Florida they're still doing it kind of the same way.
and they're kind of doing the same way in New York too. I
I'm
don't.
saying
I
I don't
think.
feel anything has changed yet.
Well, I think this came across so fast and so quickly that it kind of took everybody off guard. And I think the MLS, the boards of realtors, they need to adapt certain procedures, and they got to change documents of, listing agreements and things like that. And we're not even there yet. We're not even there
Hmm.
yet. But I think in this time, in this initial time, I think this is where, like, just like when you have a slow market, you have times to put things together. Now is the time to start educating yourself on how to talk to buyers and how to expect them to be, for them to compensate you. Again, I think at the end of the day, a buyer could care less as long as you represent them well and you find them their dream home and you basically are solving problems.
You
Right?
think they're going to pay, but you think they're going to really pay, say 2 to 3% just as calmly because they might just say, okay, well, I don't have the money. We're a young couple. We don't have that kind of money. That could be their immediate excuse to kind of get out of. We'll pay you a flat fee. We'll give you $3,000.
Well, that could be, that's a negotiation between them and the realtor. Absolutely.
Mm,
Every case is different. But if you're buying I mean, the average sales price in New York, where I am right now, it's about $900,000 a year. I mean, $900,000 a home.
All right.
So, you know, when you're talking about percentage wise, we're not there that they can't afford it. If you can't afford 1%, 2%, let's just say argument 2%, then you probably are looking at a home that is already at your max, stretching your finances. So you might want to talk about a flat fee. But it's something that I think it's here and we can't avoid it. It's just a matter of just learning how to sell yourself because again, you are solving problems for them. And the biggest, and this is something else somebody told me, the most richest people in the world are problem solvers. Anybody who's good at solving problems gets compensated very well. So if you are a realtor working with buyers and you're solving their problem, whether they are, they are moving or they just there's a baby on the way or whatever it is, and you find them they're at home, you're solving their problem. You need to be
Hmm.
compensated, and that's the way it is. And it's probably better off doing it that way, working with one agent and making sure that everything that they're looking for, all their needs and issues and their problems are met between one client and one buyer, rather than
Hmm.
you jumping from listing to listing. It just doesn't work well for them. So you just gotta show them that hey, listen, that service requires a fee.
Right. I just wonder where that's going to go. Meaning, are our buyers agents going to are buyers going to have a harder time finding agents because agents are going to say, nah, this buyer is too cheap. They don't pay enough. They're only willing to give me $1,000. Other buyers are willing to give me $10,000. That's what I just wonder. I just
I
wonder how
mean,
that's going to play out.
you know what though, could you get compensated from the listing agent? There's no reason why you can't. If the seller is willing to compensate a little bit to the
Hmm.
buyer's agent, it's up to them, right? This is
Hmm.
it's not a requirement anymore, but it's up to them. So if that's okay, then you probably could make up the difference in on the other side. Again, Rafi, we're in uncharted waters over here. So, this is all stuff that we've thought, me and my partners have thought about and we have not started this yet, but I could see, it working itself out. I could definitely see it, iron itself out.
Well, one thing I can see being a major benefit is it's going to probably kick a lot of agents out of the market. It's
Oh,
so the agents that do stay, especially because I'm much more listing focused,
yes, good.
much more listing focused. I generate leads and make my calls to sellers only. I don't even generate leads for buyers, which I probably should do maybe a little more, but I focus completely on sellers. My only buyers that I work with are either people I've worked with on the sale end that have a referral for a buyer
Right.
or for a friend, referrals, connections. But in terms of prospecting for buyers, I don't really do that. But just because I want to become a very strong listing agent. And so this way, once if we get 50% of the agents out of the market in the next couple of years, hopefully the ones that stick around will have more market share. I
Well,
imagine that would be.
my thoughts on that, it's like we every once in a while we need to be like a self-cleaning oven and we get
Hmm.
rid of the junk, you know,
Right.
and you being a listing agent, I'm sure you are going to a listing appointments and you're competing yourself with agents that are much less qualified than you, but they're cheaper than you. And the
Right.
sellers tend to do that. They try to get, so it's your job to say, listen, that agent is not the best. He's just the cheapest, and so, is that what you want? Uh,
Hmm.
but as far as getting listings and everything, and they get, and obviously you're going to get buyers. When I first started this business, I was like you, I was so focused on listings, but you 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 tend to be a hunter with that. You hunt all the time. And because when you finally get that listing and then they're moving out of your area. So it's kind of harder for you to stay in touch with them. And then even for them to give you referrals because they're losing everybody, they're leaving everybody behind in that market area. In New York, we
Hmm.
see a lot of people leaving New York, going to either Jersey or Florida, right? Florida's another borough of New York now. So they tend to not be around that circle that can give you referrals. Now, if you have the patience to work with buyers. Now you put them in a home that they love. They leave very happy with you, because it's a different, it's a different ball game working with buyers, and they tend to give you referrals for the next 6, 7 years if you know how to do it until it's time for them to sell. So I think that's, like again, I avoided buyers in the beginning because I didn't have the time. When I was a cop, I had limited time. Couldn't
Mhm.
show buyers around all the time. But I think if you have that time, I think you should split it up pretty much equally because buyers are definitely the people that will be supporting your business for years to come.
Right.
Sellers, they always think, all right, I'm giving you 3%, 4%, 5% of this house. What did you really do to earn that much money? They walk away with a little bit of a resentment because you made that much money. And then they leave and then they go to a different area and everything. So that warm, fuzzy feeling doesn't exist as much as the buyer side. The buyer side, every time,
They're so happy you got them yeah, 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 you got them the
you're
property.
associated with happiness.
It's a good point. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, so I definitely definitely an important part, an important point. That
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. Okay. Now in terms of there was a picture you posted and it said the realtors who dare to step out of the ranks are usually rewarded. So what exactly did you mean by that?
Okay, so you're talking about the all the black little individuals like the black
Yep.
soldiers, right? They're like figurines, and then the one who stepped out of the line, they're all lined up, and the one who stepped out of the line, I made a graphic design. They have their REMAX colors. Okay, so I'm the recruiter here. Out of my partners, I do the recruiting in my company, and I constantly try to show the value of working for the company like REMAX. Yeah, I'm big in referrals. I'm big in networking. So obviously, REMAX is not only national, it's international. You could create relationships everywhere and continue to get referrals from other people in the REMAX system. But realtors are afraid to make the jump usually. We have REMAX has a reputation to have fees. We don't have fees per se. There's other options, but I think other brokers instill a lot of fear in their agents that if you go to a company like REMAX, you're going to be paying a lot of fees. You come to a company like REMAX, you're going to be making a lot of money. That the fees are just part of the expense of conducting your business. As if you opened up a business and you had to pay a lease for a new storefront and things like that. You know, so what my that post was basically just saying, listen, get out of your comfort zone, get out of the protection of where you are right now, that you feel comfortable, that your broker's giving you some leads every once in a while, which is, to me, there's a lot, as a recruiter, I'm always seeing, when I'm talking to an agent face to face and tell, well, how many leads are you going to give me? It's amazing that now that's their question. That's what they're always asking. How many leads are you giving me? And my response is, don't join a company for their leads, because the day that your broker retires, you have to leave the industry the day after, because you have not built anything for yourself. Rely on a company and a brokerage that is going to help you grow that business so you can generate your own leads. And
Correct.
and then like, I'm all about branding. I mean, you've seen it. I love the branding myself in certain ways. And that's what REMAX is all about. It's the brand. So when you walk into an appointment, half my job is already done because I'm already associated with a top brand. Now it's the other 50% of my job is selling myself, showing what kind of guy I am, what kind of realtor I am. And I try to show that to my realtors. So yeah, that post is just basically for the individuals who've made that sacrifice, made that move, that uncomfortable move of calling their broker, asking for their license to be released, starting all over and joining a company that, they have no idea how to, conduct themselves the way other REMAX agents do, and they have to learn. Anybody who's done that has been rewarded. Um, and they're doing very, very well with us. We have a very successful rate. We don't lose agents to just like leaving the industry. One or two, yeah, we will take new ones, but the ones that we take and from other companies and we show them the REMAX ways, they quickly realize, okay, this is the way to do business. That you got to treat it as a business. You got to pay your taxes before you have to pay your taxes. You have to make create a budget for marketing, for other stuff like that. There's time blocking for lead generation, there's time blocking for administrative stuff. You got to really be a business person. When you
Absolutely.
leave that comfort from the company that, never really provided that information and that service for you, when you leave that comfort and you join something like REMAX, you get rewarded because you took that chance and you see, this is the way to build, this is the way to move ahead, this is the way to create a business that will last for years and years to come.
Okay. So I didn't know if it was a recruiting thing. I thought it was just more, which is fine. No, I just thought it was more of a stepping outside the box as a real estate agent. Just if you're not comfortable making your calls, go make your calls. If you're not comfortable, door knocking, go door. That's what I guess that's
Well,
what I
listen,
thought
if
it was.
you took it that way, that's even better. I mean, that's,
Right.
I like, so there was really, if you take it with two different messages, it's
It
both
was good
messages
either way.
work
It was a
fine for
good,
me.
you're right. It was a good message either way. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Okay, so one last thing before we commence or before we wrap up. It was there's so many agents because this is just always a funny thing. I went to my title attorney's son's bar mitzvah yesterday. Had a great time. Great meats, just smoked meats and all that. I love that. I'm just a really big meat person, so it was amazing. I saw tons of people I knew, just really connected with people. Barely drank anything, but I ended up having the father, the bar mitzvah boy's father. He stood on my shoulders, not just sat on my shoulder. He I guess when he was younger, it was one of his things he did. So when my buddy was going to do it, but he didn't feel confident he could carry him, so I just ended up doing it. It was a blast. I had a great time. So anyway, I was talking to a few people, and we were just talking about how there's so many agents, especially in South Florida, because of the tropics, and everyone likes to flex and drive their Lamborghinis. It's like
Yeah.
that. I'm sure you know that. You definitely know that. So why do you think these agents do this? And what do you think is the drawback of doing it? Because they do it because they're hoping that they can fake it till they make it. Enough people are naive enough to not really look at their numbers. They see them, standing in front of a Lamborghini, or they're constantly posting other people's listings that, other people's $5 million listings that aren't actually theirs, and
Right.
people are congratulating them on deals that they've never done. Why do you think these agents do this? And what would you say to agents that think about doing this and why they shouldn't? Like, just give me a whole.
So,
Or if you think it's a good idea, I'm open, but I
no,
won't.
I don't.
I'm
I don't think it's a good idea.
I won't do it, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's a good idea. You get called out quickly on that. And the
I
people that
think
know
anyone with a
you,
brain is gonna see you for your shit, and they're gonna, you know,
exactly. There are people
yeah.
that actually know you and they know you don't have a Lamborghini and they know you
It's
don't have a
ridiculous.
$5 million listing.
Ridiculous. That's what I don't understand. Is it? Don't you feel embarrassed because the people that know you read right through it?
Right.
Like that's just why
Exactly.
it doesn't.
And those are the
Yeah.
people that you're going to see often. So,
Right. And they're gonna be
um,
like, "You phony." Like I know you
yeah,
for 15 years. Okay.
Rafi, I feel like we live in that world that everybody gets a trophy now. You just show up
Yep.
a team, you participate, you play every game, and you get a trophy. And then no matter you could be dead last, you get a trophy. So I think we're teaching our youth and society that it doesn't really take that hard work to make it succeed. Um, I don't know. I always say to I joke around with my friends my age, and we say like, if I was young and grew up in these times, I would be a billionaire because the amount of work that I put into it every day, I have my competition be limited because everybody just wants to show up and expect things to be done for them. And being a
Exactly.
broker, you see it all the time. You're like, what? When I became a realtor, I had no guidance. I mean, I had to go out and learn myself. I had to, back then, YouTube wasn't even that big, so I had to go to, bookstores and read books and get mentoring and get coaching. I did it all myself. It's okay that you're driving a Honda. It really
Hmm.
is. And it's okay that you're putting up your little townhome as a listing. It's okay. The majority of the people that will be giving you money, by the way, because they're going to turn into clients, fall into that category of the middle class. So, if you're marketing yourself as, you know, a typical realtor that is doing what he's got doing, grinding every day, driving a normal car, dressing nice, obviously professional, putting up their listings that are moderate listing. Well, guess what? Your market share is much, much larger than the 22-year-old that just got their license and they're taking phony pictures in front of a car that they couldn't even afford to lean on, let alone buy, and a listing that they probably never even been into, because they don't know any friends or people that could afford that, So who are you marketing yourself to? The people that is, a father of three and a husband is going to go find that realtor that is successful in closing a lot of deals in homes that he wants, or, so he's not going to go for that superstar. He's going to find you. So I think, listen, it's glamorous, but it's not real. And I think
Mhm.
it makes our industry that much tougher because listen, let's call it the way it is. You being a listing agent, going out there, you're competing with a lot of people that are nowhere near close to your skills and professionalism, and you're competing against them when you should never. Is
Right.
you should be able to walk in there, done deal, close, not even talk about compensation, commission. They're like, all right, listen, you're my guy. You know exactly how to solve all my problems, and I want to be there at this time. But they're competing with people like that, agents like that are just basically shallow behind the face of social media. And
Or
right? They create a bad reputation for us.
there's so many different factors. It's also could be, I'm going on a listing appointment and a young lady went on the appointment after me. She has a kid, maybe that reminds her of the seller's kid. There could be so many different factors where there's a connection. Even if I'm a better agent technically, there's something about that other agent that clicked. Certain conversation, a certain way
Yeah,
they look. There's
yeah.
so many factors. And that's what I realize is it's a long play and you're constantly improving and constantly learning what works and what doesn't. Dude, I mean, I'll say it. I had two listings I was working on. Both of them went with different agents today. One of them, I went with a friend of mine, a colleague of mine,
Okay.
and the other agent that the owner went with is more experienced than we are. She's been in the business quite a lot longer than we are, and she's done more sales. And I say, you know what? She beat us to it. It is what it is. I just got to get better.
That's right.
She didn't even want to say it in the beginning. She kind of just didn't want to go into it, but my buddy kind of pressed her because he called her, not me. And it is what it is. I took it on the chin. Happens. It is what it is. Nothing I could do. Meaning all I could do is move forward. Then I had another one that I went on in my neighborhood. Had a great connection with the son or the son of son of the owner. And when I say son, the son is in his 50s. The owner must be in his 80s. Owner's very stubborn about price.
Hmm.
The property is considerably overpriced. But the father, the guy who owns the unit, the guy in his 80s, he went with an agent that is just listing it at this unrealistic price. So the son and the daughter, they really liked me. They're like, you're great. My husband, I went to meet with the wife because I initially spoke to the husband. This was a cold call. Husband and I got into a nice conversation. We were talking about different things, spoke about the property. I came with the comps, took pictures of the unit. I was going to do professional pictures, obviously, but I just, took some pictures just so I had them. And she's like, my husband really likes you. He had a great conversation with you. You're definitely in the running, which obviously is always jibber jabber until you get the deal.
Yeah, until yeah.
But I felt it was good. I think I did very well, and that was it. I don't think it went badly. I think whatever happened happened,
Well,
and
out of the two with the overpriced listing is probably the safest one that probably will come back to you. So my advice to you is today, write them a little thank you note for taking the time to meet with you.
mm,
And you tell them that you enjoyed their conversation, that you enjoyed meeting with them, that
mm.
although you're listed with somebody else, I really can't reach out to you. But if you ever have any questions, feel free to call me and I'll
Well,
give you.
yeah. So I texted her that. I mean, I think what I think would be going above and beyond, which I think is perfect. I definitely think it's a good move. But I sent her one thing I've realized, and I got this from Ricky and other realtors, and I've just solidified that no matter what happens, even if a friend of mine goes with another agent,
Mhm.
I congratulate them. I
Yes.
have a smile on my face. I thank them.
Yeah.
You know, I say no, thank them, but I say, hey, it's all good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm glad it worked out. I'm glad you found the house, or I'm glad you sold the house. Because I also realized I listened to, I forgot who this was. It wasn't a realtor, but it was an entrepreneur who spoke and said, people have this notion that just because you're friends with someone, they owe you the business. It's like they don't.
I know.
If they don't feel you're the best person for
Right.
the job, or there was just another person at the time that found them the house, you got to earn your stripes. They
Right.
don't owe you anything. He's like the person who said this is oftentimes in business, you're the earlier years in business, you're gonna get business from people you don't even know. And
For
then
sure.
over the course of time, your friends are gonna see that you really, got your footing in the game, and then then maybe they'll work with you. I've definitely had friends I've worked with for sure, but a lot of my business was from complete strangers, and I
Yeah.
can't expect somebody to just say, "Hey, man, we've known each other for 10 years. I'm just going to work with you," because I'm sure that will happen too. But I also have to live in the real world, you know? I can't just expect it.
No, you can't expect it, and if it doesn't always work out, but you can always exit gracefully. That
Sure.
it's easy. My advice to you is always make it easier for them to come back to you, to pick up
100%.
that phone and say, you know what, Ralph, you were right the whole time. You were honest with me. That this other guy lied to me. He just wanted to
Just to get
list
the
it.
listing. Yep.
Exactly. Make it easy for them to come back. Like when you
Yep.
when you lose an agent as a recruiter and you lose an agent, don't, make it easy for them to come back, because it is always possible. There's always a chance that that client, that realtor could come back and need you. And they're just basically afraid to reach out to you because, they got egg on
You
their
got
face.
upset.
Yeah.
So
So
true.
take it
I'll
away.
give you
You
so
know,
true. And I'm so happy I realized this from an early age and an early into my career, because there are agents that get so bitter. Can't believe
yes.
you didn't hire me. We're best friends. It's like, listen, man, it's their house, their choice. Like if you get bitter about it, first of all, it'll hinder the relationship. You'll probably never work with them again. Also, you
Right.
got to look at it where you might have worked with them. What if something went wrong? What if anything could have happened? And now you guys have a bad relation. It's all for the best. You never know.
And
So
you know what? You
that's how I
can stay
look
in
at
touch
it.
with them after, even if their homes do get sold and they move on. Now you can stay in touch with them and you can ask for referrals because they might have had a
100%.
great feeling towards you. Because they might say, "Oh yeah, this guy was a complete jerk. He got my house sold, but what a horrible experience." And they can now they say, "Well, I know this." They could tell other people, "I know this guy. He stayed in touch with me even afterwards. He didn't have to."
Right.
Interact with them on social media if you can, things like that. Listen, there's ways of saving relationships. There's ways of, building a rapport and just communicating with them so that it's easy for them to come back to you and ask for, give you business,
100%.
give you referrals.
100%. I think it's just yeah. These are super important lessons. So I'm taking them with me. I know they'll pay off in the long run. It's just having a positive attitude.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just having a positive
We can't,
attitude because
listen, there's a sea of money out there. We can't take the whole sea. I just want a big
100%.
bucket. You just want one big bucket and, take out that water. There's enough for everybody.
Agreed. Agreed. Yeah, Sal, this has been an awesome conversation. Looking forward to speaking to you in the future.
Yep.
Like I said, I'm originally from Brooklyn. I moved here 5 years ago. So I don't know. Do you primarily spend your time in Staten Island? I feel like you're in Staten Island. Is that
Well,
where you?
the main office is in Staten Island, but I
Yeah.
have one office in Bay Ridge. I'm sure you know where Bay Ridge is
Of
by the
course. I
Basin.
know it all. Yeah, yeah. I have
Yeah,
family in
so
Staten Island.
which is
Yeah, yeah.
and we're on the South Shore of Staten Island, we're in the North Shore of Staten Island, and we're in in Bay Ridge. Yeah, but I do business everywhere. So if you ever need anything from me, 5 boroughs, I got you. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, well, first of all, I have a really good buddy that works at REMAX. His name is Itamar.
Eat
I don't
tomorrow.
know. There's probably so many agents that you're probably
Oh
not going to
yeah, yeah.
necessarily.
We have this big company.
Well, yeah, but he works with what's his name again? Yeah, I'm sure you.
In what borough?
I think he's in Bay Ridge. I think his office is in Bay Ridge.
So probably Remax Edge.
Remax. So what's the guy's name at Remax Edge?
The broker,
Yeah.
Napolitano.
Yes. Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. 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 That's who it is. Correct.
yeah, we know him.
So one of my best buddies. He's a realtor with Remax Edge. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, Sal, this has been awesome. So
Thank you.
hopefully at some point you and I can meet. I'm very
Yes,
happy with. So I work for a boutique luxury company. And
nice.
the reason why I joined, I was at Keller Williams initially, and I liked it, but I'll be very transparent. And I can say this about all Keller Williams, and I liked the people there, sweetest people, It was a very good environment, and I have nothing bad to say. It's not bad. The only thing that I found was that certain offices kind of have too much of a Kool-Aid culture,
Yes.
and I don't need to be motivated. I don't need to be told to get on the phones. I need to learn to get better at the skills.
Right.
So that's what I'm doing. That's just what happens naturally over time. There are a lot of agents that leave a 9 to 5 and they just want things to come to them. I don't need that. I'll do the work. I'll grind it out. I'll roll through the shit. So I don't need that kumbaya stuff. And I felt there was a little too much of that. And I wanted to be in a company where the people are just it's much more simple. There's less of the clappity clap
Right.
congratulations. It's more of just, get the deal done. Let's get deals done. They're very helpful, very supportive, but they don't hold your hand as much, which I'm okay with. The thing for me is I want the proximity. And the two brokers that I'm working with are some of the two of they are at the top of their game in my area. So I want to be around them, and I want to be able to leverage that where if I have, say, a $7 million listing, because I was close to doing a $40 million deal not long ago, but
Yeah, great.
I was the long story, we can go into it off the video. I would tell people about it, but it's a long story. So I want to be able to have that leverage where at Keller Williams, no one was really doing those kinds of deals.
Right.
If I get a $7 million seller, it's not that I don't feel confident that I'm worthy of it, but I'm punching above my weight at this point.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
That's quite a big jump, and I'd rather be able to really solidify it by saying, hey, before this guy or gal goes and looks up my sales, because in that price point, many of them will do that. I'd
Absolutely.
rather bring my broker on board, have a much higher chance of getting that
Yes.
listing, or buyer for that matter, but that listing. Okay, I take a 50-50, a 50% hit, but I have a much higher chance of getting it all together.
Yeah.
And also, I'll be able to make that seller much happier by saying this broker of mine, he's got the credentials, he's done this many times. We'll get the deal done. So there's a confidence I have going into it, saying I have my broker backing me up and doing this with me, where there's a much higher chance of it closing and closing well. And then over the course of time, I'll do a few more of them with him or with someone else if
Until
it's
you
in a
don't have to
different area.
anymore.
And then I won't have to anymore. I'll
Yeah,
have the deals
exactly.
under my belt. I'll have the credibility. I'll have
Yes.
the experience, and eventually I won't have to do it. And
There you go.
that's. You think it's a
That's
good
the name of the
strategy, yeah?
game. You keep on doing it until you don't, you fake it until you don't have to fake it no more. Right?
Yeah. Well, I'm not even. The thing is I'm really honest about it though. When I've had a few deals that I've been really close to getting recently, and I'll tell them flat out. Like I'll say, hey, either this neighborhood I haven't focused so much on it, or I'm a little bit younger in the game,
Right.
but I have an agent that I work with who's more than qualified. Why would they have an issue with that?
Well, think about the sellers, the owners of those type of homes. They're pretty savvy. I mean,
Right.
they're in a position in life that they know what they're doing.
They
So
know
if
what
you
they're doing.
came in, you were very honest with them, they're willing to take a shot on you because they're probably saying, "Well, listen, this guy's got a lot to prove. He's hungry, and I like that." And if he has the support of a staff back at the office, and if it comes down to it, at least if I have a problem and he can't solve it, he could find the solution through
Well,
his.
it's also not even staff back at the office. This is hands-on. I'm going 50-50 with this
There you
broker.
go. So
So it's not like I'm just dilly-dallying and I can just call him when I know. My broker's
hmm, right there.
he's got skin in the game because we're doing it, we're going 50-50. I might even say my broker's a really nice dude, both of them, but if if it's a huge deal and say the seller's expecting a ton of marketing money that I don't have, I'll say, hey man, listen, I don't care to take
That's
40%
right.
or whatever it is. Like it's silly stuff. If I can get that deal under my belt, let's do it. That's my
Absolutely.
take.
Good.
Yeah. All right. So Sal, I appreciate you coming. It was an awesome conversation.
Yes, I
Really,
enjoyed it.
really,
I
I'm
enjoyed it a
glad.
lot.
I'm happy. I don't do the whole question. I'll ask you questions, but I want to have conversation as if you and I are sitting down in person. That's always more valuable.
Yeah,
So that's what we
absolutely.
did. So, ladies and gents, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure to subscribe, like, share, leave your comments. Go follow Rafi the Realtor on Instagram. I think there's another Rafi the Realtor. So Rafi _the_ Realtor. It's the better looking one with the beard. And make sure to follow Sal Carola. That's SalCarola. I'm going to list it in the description. I'm going to put his link in the description so you can find it. if you are in the tri-state area and you are either a newer realtor or you're a realtor that's kind of lost, you're not sure where to go, make sure to reach out to Sal.
Absolutely.
So thank you
That's what I
again. Thank you
specialize
again for
in.
coming on. Absolutely. So the episode will be out not tomorrow, but next Tuesday at 9 a.m.
Okay.
So I'll send it to you and you can do whatever you want. If you want to make some clips and put it somewhere, that's what I usually do. But if you want to chop it up on your own, I have a guy, if you have a guy, whatever
Yeah,
the
yeah.
case is. But that is the story. So thank you.
All right.
Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for your time.
Talk
Have
to
a
you
great
soon.
day.
Absolutely.
All righty.